What's up, everybody? King here. I'm going to be talking about UFC Fight Night, Bonfim versus Brown. It's a garbage card. Next card makes up for all the shit cards and all the shit that was going on. So let's get is I was going to say Jackson McVeigh versus Valentine, but this fight has been cancelled. Robert Valentine has pulled out with an injury, and they haven't found anything too late of notice for anybody to fight Jackson McVeigh. So yeah, the fight isn't happening, and there's also one more fight on the card. I'll go talk about that. The first fight's Miles Johns versus Daniel Marcos. Miles Johns has been very active, which I like. He's 15-4, one no contest. These are pretty similar in height and reach, and I'm not gonna say this because Miles Johns, the way he fights is very like forward heavy. He loves to strike, but I don't like his list of wins. To be honest, like he lost to not top competition in John Matsumoto and Felipe Lima, which those aren't bad losses to have. But you know, winning against Douglas Silva de Andrade by decision and Cody Gibson, which we know how good Cody Gibson is, to be honest. Yeah, but with Daniel Marcos, he's looked pretty impressive in his last few fights. He did lose to Montel Jackson. Montel Jackson is ranked, but he does have a win over Adrian. Super impressive. I'm pretty sure it could have been a robbery win, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, his last three wins have been super impressive. Not three wins, sorry. His last three fights have been pretty impressive. Decisioning Montel Jackson's pretty hard. Winning against Adrian Yanez, even though it was a robbery, and winning against John Castaneda. I just with this fight, I think I like Daniel Marcus as the up and comer. Even though he's a little overrated, I think he can get a decision against Miles Johns. So for the going Daniel Marcus, Tisha Pennington versus Denise. Tisha Pennington was Tisha Torres, if I'm not wrong, originally. She just got married to Raquel Pennington, the former bantamweight champion. She is. Always forget to do this. The odds for this fight is Daniel Marcus is $1.50, Miles Johns is $2.50. I'm probably gonna bet on Daniel Marcos and for this fight this fight. Um, you know, they're both the average women fighters. Totally different records. Like I said, they're pretty similar. Gomez. Um, Pennington, sorry. Tisha Pennington. She's not a bad fighter by any means. I just, like, excuse me. She could have won that fight against Tabitha Ritchie. She went to a decision with Mackenzie Dern last year. Not last year, sorry. A few years back. She beat Luana Pinheiro pretty impressively and beat Carla Esparza, which that's never an easy fight, if I'm going to be honest. Carla Esparza, as much shit as Carla Esparza. And, she's not too bad of a fighter, women fighting. But Denise Gomez, she's just looked a lot better. Being Elise Reed, Kalkavich, um, Eduardo Mora. And, like, her only loss, like, in her last five fights was Angel Hill. skilled fighter herself. Um, this fight, I'm going towards Denise Gomez. I don't think it's all that, all, you know what the odds are, what are the odds? The odds are $2.50 to $1.50, which I think they should be a little closer, but I'm probably going to go Denise Gomez by maybe a decision. Oh, yeah, I think that's the right call. I think Gomez is just, she's got a bit more in it, I think, as well. For the next fight, Josh Hokett versus Max Gimenez. Now, if you haven't seen these guys before, you know, Josh Hokett, he went on the Dana White Contender. Pretty sure this is Josh Hokett, very undersized heavyweight, which is very surprising. I'm down the light heavyweight. Like extremely good grappler. I'm pretty sure he's finished all his opponents, if I'm not wrong. It's his debut into the UFC. Uh, you know, he has a whole sort of promo last time I saw him, but yeah, tape he looks really. Uh, oh shit, yeah, all finishes. When I do that because it annoys me. But Max Gimenez, it doesn't have his Gimenez. Look, man, I think Gimenez is a really talented BJJ guy. You know, he's been fighting in BJ. Let me get this up. Sorry, he's been fighting, but he's the way he's been. The guys he's lost to on the regional are pretty piss poor. Like I think it was like 2-4. I don't know his name, but it was a pretty shit. I go Josh Hokett by finish. I think Josh Hokett just showed a lot more than on the Dana. I think we know a lot more. I think it's just when it's a wrestler versus a guy, especially in the heavy division, we're always going to go towards the wrestler. So I'm going to go Josh Hokett by a TKO in the second round. Uh, Josh Hokett, heavy favorite, $1.20, and Max Gimenez is $4. Yeah. Anyway, the next fight is Mara Bueno Silva versus Jacqueline Calvacanti. You know, Mara Bueno Silva, she fought for years ago. You know, she got a bunch of leg locks on her way up, and she just looks super unimpressive since her title shot. Just she's lost her last three. She's don't get me wrong, like Raquel Pennington's never a bad loss. She popped for steroids, and she's just looked ever since. Like, yeah, she got decision by Raquel Pennington, but then you get KO'd by Macy Chassion. That's fucking terrible, man. I'm pretty that doctor's stoppage. I can't remember. And then Jamison Judavasis isn't the worst loss because she wasn't like she couldn't do anything in that fight. She was very just very I don't know how to say, but she wasn't doing anything off her back. She wasn't trying to get back up. She wasn't trying to do fuck all, and she just looked so unimpressed. Just steroids. And Canty, she's actually like doing more shit in her division. She's she hasn't beaten anybody top tier or versed anyone top tier, but she's been winning by decision constantly and winning. She's been very active. She's been very she's been very like I see more in Jacqueline Cavalcanti. I think she's on the come up. I think she's gonna take my Silva to a decision. I haven't like she's not a Jacqueline getting a crafty decision. I think it's gonna be a close between these two because the level of opponents is like night and day. But I think I'm going towards Jacqueline Cavalcanti by decision. Th- I think she's gonna beat Maya Bueno. Maya Bueno Silva is $3.12, while Jacqueline Cavalcanti's $1.04. Which, yeah, that sounds about right. For the next fight is Hydro Mill versus Jamal Emmett. Pumping through these a lot quicker than we did last time. That's good. That's a good part of the video. Hydro Mill, he's an interesting fighter, man, because Hydro Mill, he was a super hyped up. He was finishing a bunch of dudes when he first came into the UFC. Like oh shit, he finished Fernie Garcia, which whoever. He's not an easy opponent, and he beat Gomez, which that's a hard guy to beat, man. And to Jose Delgado is super good, man, and that was in the first 20 seconds, if I'm not remembering that right. And he was undefeated before that. Some nobody. He was legitimately like an up and comer until he got stopped. While Jamal Emmers, he's kind of just been a win-loss fighter in his last few. He Gabriel Miranda, who I don't know who that is. Nate Landwehr. That's not a good. That's not a good look on your record, I reckon. And Dennis Bazooka, is that what it is? Yeah, but that was in November 2023. I'm just gonna look at his last two fights. Losing to Nate Landwehr doesn't say much to me, and KOing a Miranda fella doesn't really say much as well. Jamal Emmers has legit KO power. So yeah, but I think Hydro Miller's just got more like skill on the feet. Outpoint Emmers to a crafty decision, or maybe even KO. I think there will be a KO in this fight. I'm gonna go. Holy shit, this is gonna be a striking battle. If I'm gonna be perfectly honest, I think Hydro Mill is gonna KO Jamal Emmers in the first or second round. That's my prediction for this one. I didn't know really the stat, but yeah, I think Hydro Mill's gonna get the KO. And Hydro Mill's the favorite by $1.67. Jamal Emmers, he's $2.22. Could be a little closer, but that's he's have it. And favorite fight on the card, and you'd think, oh, maybe my favorite fights on the card for how shit of a card. We're on to the main event, like the main part of the card. We've got Christian Leroy Duncan versus Marco Tully. Have looked super impressive in their life. Christian Leroy Duncan may have lost his by a decision, or maybe I haven't seen him fight in a bit. If I'm just thinking, no, he KO'd Eric Anders, which is he's a crafty vet, and then he decisioned Andre Poliev, and he lost to G-Rod, which that's not. I don't really find shame in that loss, but he's been being kind of the jobbers of this division. Middleweight, it's not the bottom. I feel like Roy Duncan has been beating those guys that aren't that skillful. Neither has Marco Tulio though. Marco Tulio, his last two fucking wins, even though they were KOs, was Ilya Poteria, and he's terrible. And Trey Shongol, who has improved shit in the UFC. So it's really hard to pick this fight because this is making because this is going to show us who's like a possible like up and comer in the middleweight rankings. And, these records do say a little bit, but it doesn't say too much. It looks like he fucking when he cops punches, he just eats him. And Leroy Duncan, the way you like how he reacts to it, the reach is like it's on in Duncan's favor, but I can honestly see Marco Tulio getting up on the inside like he usually does, and then like trying to find the knockout. I haven't seen Marco Tulio like in any trouble yet. Well, I've seen Christian Leroy Duncan in trouble, so I'm gonna say Marco Tulio KO. think, yeah. So the odds are Christian Leroy the underdog by $2.50, Marco Tulio $1.50, and I think that is the correct assumption. The next fight is Barcelos. These guys have had some real impressive. Like these are like veterans. Like I know that sounds weird. Barcelos is like 40 years, and Ricky Simone would be getting up there. But like way back, like 20 if I'm not mistaken. It was pretty far back. Anyway, let's get on to the fight. Um, Ricky Simone, he's been a very win loss fighter. He's got some power in his hands. He just can't seem to like pick up a win streak. He's on a 2 fight win streak now. He knocked out Jared Basharat. Jared Basharat was like, he was like this up and comer, and then he beat Cameron Smotherman, which I don't think he was UFC. All the guys before that he lost to, who was on a 3 fight losing streak to, fuck, uh, Vinicius Oliveira, which fuck, he's a killer. Mario Batista, we know how good he is, and Song Yadong, who, like I'm pretty sure he was winning that fight. Yeah, man. I think like Ricky Simone really does struggle to put get like he puts on a win streak and then he loses to like the top guys, which sucks for Ricky. While he looks super impressive lately, you know, beating what's his name? Christian Quiones, Peyton Talbot, which was probably his best win. People say Cody Garbrandt's his best win, but I think that win over Peyton Talbot is super impressive. He's decisioning these guys. He submitted Quinones, but his last 2 wins have looked super impressive for Barcelos. So this is a really hard matchup, but I think Ricky Simone's gone on one of his classic. Oh, this is a really hard matchup. Like this is a 50-50. But I do think Ricky Simone, as much as a veteran, that better fight IQ, he just gets caught sometimes. I think catch Barcelo, like, he's gonna catch him either a crazy submission or a KO. That's how I see this fight going. Honestly, Rani Barcelo easily do we can get something. So I'm gonna choose Ricky Simone by a crafty decision. I don't know if he knocks out Barcelos, but yeah, and the betting line is Ricky Simone as the favorite, $1.50, and Rani Barcelos is $2.40. Next fight, I was gonna say that better not be the co-main. I was gonna be pissed, but that's a bad co-main. Chris Padilla versus Ismail main event. Gabriel Bonfim. Like Chris Padilla, he's looked like he's won all his fights and like they're kind of to bums, like they to jobs division. But honestly, like, I think when people say that, it's like, what, what, yeah, like he's like he's been consistent with his wins too. He submitted James. He beat Rongju. I rate Rongju pretty highly. And Jai Herbert, who's a like proper like matchup for anyone in the lightweight division, like fucking Poirier. That's a good win, man. And I do rate that. He's on a 3 fight win streak at UFC. While Ismail Bonfim, I just he's as good as people say he is. Like I don't rate the Bonfim brothers. I'm very surprised. A step up. This isn't really a step up. This is a pretty even fight. But like, you know, Team Sadigov is good. And he beat Vince Pichel. Vince Pichel is good. He lost to Benoit Saint Denis. You know, that's not really like Benoit Saint Denis is pretty good. We know how good he is. And you know, like his most impressive win was Terrence McKinney. But Terrence McKinney is the sort of guy to like go out in the first. You get to find out if you're getting knocked out or he's getting knocked out. It's one of those fighters. I just like the way I think I honestly think it looking more consistent with these and they're to named wins as well. Like as much as people don't want to fucking admit it. So I'm going for the first underdog on the card, Chris Padilla, 66. Well, Ismail Bonfim's $1.48. I think those odds are really that's some weird odds. The next fight is the Kung Fu versus the Serbian fucking kickboxer. If it loads, please. Okay. Muslim Salikov at the 41 years of age is on a 3 KO streak, which is fucking insane. Before that, he was on a 2 streak. That is to Randy Brown and Nicholas Dalby, which hard fights. Oh, sorry, not 3 fight KO streak, but he's on a 3 fight win streak. You know, knocked out Carlos Leal, Song Kanan, which I think Song Kanan's really good. Uh, Hands in EBO, really good. It's fucking like he's always in and out with that kung fu style, karate sort of style, and kung fu sort of style. And with Uros Medic, he's another guy I'm kind of like on and off about because you know he beat Gilbert Urbina by knockout, but I don't rate any of the Urbina brothers. I think all the Urbina brothers are overrated. And he got knocked out by Paulo Soriano, which I don't think Soriano's that good. He knocked out Tim Means. Tim Means, fucking another 40-year old, but he's a proper aging 40-year old who I don't rate. You know, he got by Urabai in 2023, which doesn't mean much. I think Muslim Saikov is just on a better streak. I think he's gonna get another KO. I think it's gonna be a fun fight no matter what. Like I could see just catching Muslim Salikov, but I think I like the way like Muslim Salikov is just he's on this upturn. He's the king of kung fu. He's been fucking using that to fucking knock out all of his opponents. I think I'm gonna go. Sorry, Muslim Salikov another underdog for the KO over Uros Medic in the first or second round. Muslim Salikov $2.40 while Uros Medic 60, which I think that should be a lot more closer once again. And for the co-main for this card, some Joseph Italy in not a street in. And man, fucking some of these they're not like you know Matt Schnell. He was a ranked contender for a while. I can't remember if he retired for a little bit. No, he didn't. That was Durden. You know how I feel about Durden. You know his last three lost Steve Erceg. Steve Erceg good. Lost to Cody Durden. Cody Durden. I fucking his shit. Like for that division. Jimmy Flick. Jimmy Flick's not very good either. He retired for a reason. He knew what to be. And I think his chin's just so compromised, and people want to say people say he's gonna be crafty and beat Joseph Morales in this matchup. Which, if we look at lot at 3 of Joseph Morales' last few fights, and that's a fucking few fights. Like not Eric Shelton, you know, losing to Eric Shelton. I don't even know who the hell that is. I didn't watch the fight with Ali B. Idris. Anyway, um, but he lost the day. What the fuck? Wait, I'm sorry. I'm just looking at this. Oh, he. This is his first fight. Like his second fight back since 2018. I didn't realize that. I was like, damn, David Figueiredo is a tough loss. He has fought. He's fought once this year, and then he hasn't fought in 7 years. But I like that he's come back with a submission. I've never seen Joseph Morales fight. I should have watched tape on him. I know. I I Chanel's all that. I think he's just so cracked. I could see Joseph Morales like even like getting like a half decent shot on him and him covering up, and yes, I'm gonna say Joseph Morales by a submission or TKO. I just don't know it's all there, and it says that in the odds too. Like Matt Schnell's $3.80, while Joseph Morales is $1.27. Once again, that should be so much closer. I think it should be like Matt Schnell $2.50, but I don't make the odds. Main event, which night, which it's their picks. What do we expect? But it honestly should be two ranked dudes. I'll go on my rant afterwards, like I did with my last video. Gabriel Bonfim versus. I'm they've got Randy Brown as the underdog in this fight. Gabriel Bonfim has just looked. I think he's looked a bit average in his last few fights, and it's also the level of competition, man. So if we look at his last four fights, I think the robbery win. We all know this. Chaos Williams has just gone down the shitter. Angel Lusa, he's a bit of a quitter, I reckon, and decision with him. His just last few little wins have been that impressive to me, if you ask me. Especially that Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. I don't know how that was a win. Should be a loss on his record. And he's just like he likes to hug you up against the fence. He likes to like pit pat strikes, and then but in Randy Brown's situation, yeah, you might look at this record 20-6, but who Randy Brown losing? It's not like he's losing to got very similar records too. Like they're both so 4-5, so 4 wins for 5 fights. Like Randy Brown, sorry, he knocked out Nicholas Dalby in his last fight, who KO'd Gabriel Bonfim. You know he lost Brian Battle, but Brian Battle's a super good fighter who missed. Who honestly, Brown could have fucking won that fight too, which he got robbed. And in decision to it, unless he did, I don't really rate. But if we look at his last like couple fights, he's only lost to top competition. Like he's lost from what 2023. Jack Della Maddalena, he's the champ. He's fighting Islam Makhachev in a week. I can't wait for that card. And Brian Battle. You know, he beat Wellington Turner, he beat Muslim Sadykhov. We know how good Muslims lost to Brian Battle. We know how good Brian Battle is. And he KO'd Nicholas Dalby, and Nicholas Dalby KO'd Gabriel Bonfim. So I think Gabriel Bonfim, Randy Brown, usually, like, does conserve his energy pretty well. I think Randy Brown's going to get over Gabriel Bonfim. I think it's going to be a very. I think Gabriel Bonfim's going to try and grappling. I think he's going to get up. I think he's going to get his shots off, and he's going to find the mark on Gabriel Bonfim's chin. So I'm going Randy Brown by in the third round. Gabriel Bonfim's $1.51, while Randy Brown is $2.57. I think it's a terrible card. Like once again, got one of my rants. The UFC once again should not be getting away with it. Like we have one guy that's ranked number 14 in the division of welterweight, which welterweight's like how the fuck is like these two getting a main event? No one deserves a main event. once again one of those cards which is dog shit. Stuck all these fighters on. Well, I like this fight, and I do really like fights. These are the only fights I really like on this card. They do a lot of numbers, and then they have a few nice, but they putting this fight, for example, on next week as a weaker fight, or like be honestly two higher ranked opponents. It's kind of a joke at this point. Yeah, man, that's my picks on UFC Fight Night. Gabriel Theme versus Randy Brown. Please give a like, subscribe. It does help the channel, and see ya.